In every area of my life, the moment I stopped making excuses was the moment I started making progress. Every single time I cut the excuses out of an area of my life, I would start seeing progress. I would start seeing results in that area. And the most obvious is fitness for me, right? Now you might look at me right now and think, oh, he ain't no Rock or nothing like that. He ain't Coach Bobby Bluford. But I'm telling you right now, compared to what I used to be, I was skin and bones. This is buff. This is the Rock compared to where I used to be, right? But before this, I used to have so many excuses. I had so many reasons as to why I could not get to the state, right? Or where I am about to go in my fitness journey. I used to talk about my genetics, right? I just didn't have the right gene structure. So therefore it was my daddy and his family's fault. Or I just wasn't able to keep the food in, right? Or, oh man, there's so much food to eat and you know how much protein costs, this, that, and the third. I had so many different excuses that kept me in that state of what I claimed I did not desire to be, right? I said I wanted to put on that muscle mass. That's what I claimed, but I was doing everything in contradiction to that. And I was keeping the excuses or using the excuses as a reason why I couldn't get there just to justify to myself where I was. And the moment I stopped making excuses and I said, okay, if I were to do this, how would I actually do this, right? I know that nobody else can do it for me. Nobody else can lift the weight for me. Nobody else can eat the food for me. Nobody else can, sleep for me and take care of all these other aspects of fitness. So that means it's in my hands. And that's why I love, the physique, or I love the fitness aspect of things, because there is an absolute correlation between what you do and the results you get. Now, that's in every area of our lives, but we just see this one more physically, or we see it, I guess there's a gratification cycle that's just different, right? With the outer body than there is the internal. Like you just see the results. Either you're getting it or you're not. Either the weight is dropping or it's not. Either the gains are gaining or they're not, right? And so I started to see that there was this correlation between me just simply saying, okay, let me just try, let me just participate in these activities that they're claiming are going to get me results. And every time I did that, instead of keeping these excuses in my way, I started to see results bit by bit. Now, again, it was not just the fitness aspect for me. For me, the biggest transitioning point was living in my purpose, doing what I'm doing right now, right? That book behind me right there obviously did not write itself, right? Even though we live in the age of AI, I actually wrote that book from beginning to end, just like everything else I write, everything else I create, because I just love the process. But the only way that happened was by me stop making excuses. That's the only way I was able to get that book out of me. I just stopped making the excuses. Well, nobody really reads nowadays. Well, the process to get a book out. Well, the margins aren't really that, it doesn't really make that much. I had all the reasons in the world not to do it, yet all it took was one reason to do it, because I wanted to, right? I had a deep yearning and desire to write a book and to publish that book and then to do it all over again. I had an image and a vision of myself as an author, but I was too afraid. I was letting those internal core limiting beliefs get the best of me, as opposed to my greater vision for my life, or, the future life that I saw for myself. So you find yourself in a state where you are surrounded by almost valid excuses, right? Like you got your own excuses that you create. You got your own excuses that you've used for God knows how long. But now you also have a world of social media, where everybody has a different excuse and a reasoning for you. Everybody has a different victim narrative that you can participate in order for you to remain where you are. And that's really the challenge we face. Like, we live in a day and age where it's easier than ever to get the information on how to do something. It's easier than ever to get access to the tools to do what you want to do. Like right now, I'm doing something that used to take millions of dollars to produce. There was literally a day and age where millions of dollars would have to be invested in order for me to create this, right? Just a simple straight up video like this, a broadcasting would cost an arm and a leg, as they say. Yet today I'm able to do it essentially for free. Well, paying for the equipment, etc. But really that's nothing. That's no overhead. And once I bought it, it's done, right? I don't have to pay the crew and the cast and this and the that. I'm simply here talking to you directly. And honestly, it's better quality than you would get, with the millions of dollars. So what was my excuse? Well, the excuse was, I don't know who's really going to watch, or, do people even watch anywhere? Or, the big guys, they have all the airtime and they got all the money to market. They got all the money to get in front of the people. And, us down here, the little creator, like I had all these victim narratives that I could have allowed myself to stay in. And when I did, I saw no progress. I literally couldn't, because nothing was getting created. No videos were being produced. Nobody's life was getting impacted, right? But the moment I made a decision, the moment I said, you know what, let me just do it and see. Let me see if this is true. Start putting out one video after another on Instagram. And sure enough, within less than a year, I have more than 100% growth from around 9 or 10K that I'd had for years. And in literally 3 weeks, I grew to about 23,000 followers on IG, right? And it's now at 31, and the next time you check it, it's probably going to be at 130, like 100,000, etc. So it's just to show, I guess, that the excuses we create for ourselves, the justifications as to why we cannot, are really the only thing that's standing in the way of our progress. Like if you really thought about it, there is nothing else that is actually physically in the way. It is literally the excuse that is acting as the barrier. And that's what excuses are. Right? Why didn't you do the thing? Well, because X, Y, and Z. Well, if you took away X, Y, and Z, which is the excuse, you would just have doing the thing. So instead of trying to justify why you're not doing something, you could just use that very same energy to create, right? Like today, if I had not recorded this video, tomorrow I'd say, well, why didn't you record the video? Instead of trying to create 10 different answers, I could simply sit here and create the thing. Now, I do understand that there are intrinsic motivators or disincentives for us to do things. For instance, we have our subconscious, subliminal, unconscious childhood programming, right? We have all these belief systems that have been ingrained into us since childhood that might say you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not pretty enough, you're not this, that enough to be in front of a camera or to create that business. You're not competent enough. You don't have the skill set. Who are you to create this thing? There are all these inherent core belief systems that we we do have to address, right? We're going to have to address them at some point in time. However, even with those, and I've realized this, even as a coach, as a mentor, as a teacher within the space, even though I am literally a core belief buster, I still know that it is possible to do something in spite of that belief. And as a matter of fact, doing the thing is actually going to be in reinforcement of the opposite belief that you look for. So for me, if I just continue to, let's say, do the inner work of, I am good enough, I am worthy, etc. I do all the meditating, I do all the journaling exercises, etc. But I never actually get in front of the camera, I'm never going to completely overcome that old belief system. Like my new belief system now is, of course I can do this. It's easy. I can create, 10 of these in a day if I wanted to. It's really nothing. This is what I do. This is my gift. This is who I am. And I speak like that, not because I was technically born with that. We're all born with that level of knowing and personal power. But even past my childhood conditioning and programming, once I reconditioned myself, unlearned what was there and relearned the truth, once I got in that state, it was game over. Once I got in that state, nobody could tell me anything. Nobody. I don't care who you are. You could be akin to me. I don't care who you are. So I really want to get this message out and get this message across to say that your excuses are the only thing that's in the way. It's not him, her, them, they, like nobody else. Trust me. Oh, well, it's the system. Man, it's, it's the man. It's injustice. It's the isms. It's none of the isms. The isms are not getting in the way of you and your dreams. You are. Trust me, I've seen people who have faced 100 more isms and they have still found their way to the thing that they desire most within their lives. And they've done it from places and spaces that you could never fathom. The third world countries, right? I come from one. I've seen people rise up out that ash, right? Ash, I said. Okay, ash. A-S-H. Okay, YouTube? People rising up out of that ash and creating something of themselves. Rising like that phoenix, right? Creating something greater than any of us would probably imagine, even coming from the best circumstances. And so if it is possible for that individual, it is also possible for you. And greater things are possible for you, right? Like Yeshua one time said, greater things will you do than I did. And that's what we're here to do, greater things. So that being said, I'm going to share my greater thing, which is my first published book, Doing Me Guilt-Free. This right here is the book I wish I had at 7 years old, 17 years old, and 77 years old. This is breaking free from people pleasing and unleashing your true personal power. Step into your power immediately. There's no time to waste. There's no reason to wait. Today is the time is nigh, period. Love you guys, appreciate you. Namaste. Namaskar.